Good morning, all. So, in the previous class of electric circuit analysis, we have seen or we have dealt with the various analytical techniques to solve a electric circuit. That is, we went into circuit reduction techniques by using source transformation, source shifting, or star delta transformation. Then we saw two analytical techniques: mesh current analysis and node voltage analysis. Okay, so those are very fundamental aspects of circuit analysis, which we use hereafter in every circuit analysis problem. Okay, so what we have studied in Unit 1 or Module 1 is very fundamental thing which we have to use for every circuit analysis problem. So with that knowledge of circuit analysis with us, now we will move to the second stage of circuit analysis, that is using network theorems. Like I told in the start of circuit analysis subject, okay, or the course, that Ohm's law, only Ohm's law was very much sufficient for us to solve a circuit with only if there is only one source in the circuit. If a network or a circuit is having only one source, then very conveniently I can solve that circuit using Ohm's law, provided the circuit should be linear. For non-linear circuits, we can't apply Ohm's law directly. Okay, so very conveniently I can apply Ohm's law and I can do the circuit analysis. Okay, that is very fundamental analysis. But when we saw a little bit complexity increase in the circuit, that is, if there are multiple sources, if there are more than one sources, then only Ohm's law usage was not sufficient for us to know the voltage and currents in the circuit across the circuit parameters. So we have to take the help of KVL and KCL techniques. So using KVL and KCL techniques, we studied node voltage analysis and mesh current analysis. Okay, so in mesh current analysis, we apply KVL. In node voltage analysis, we apply KCL. Okay. Now, if the circuit increases in its complexity further, no doubt I have to now use KVL and KCL only. The solution of the circuit will happen with KVL and KCL only. Okay, but if the circuit is too huge, okay, the circuit is too big, too complex, then I should be now also knowing the circuit reduction techniques other than the direct source transformation or source shifting or star delta transformation. So here circuit reduction technique, in the sense I am not eliminating the circuit components which I feel complex or complicated. I will be coming to an equivalent circuit of the same complex circuit, and this equivalent circuit will be very simple in finding the interested quantity across a particular branch or at a particular node. Okay, so these network theorems will help us to further analyze the circuit which are more complex, to analyze directly by using nodal and mesh analysis. So these network theorems will give us the equivalent circuits with respect to different types of theorems what we choose. Okay, so with these network theorems, we will be entering into a zone where we will explore the circuit analysis in a more elaborated way, or we can say, or in a more understanding way, by getting an equivalent circuit. Okay, so what the gist, what we can derive from this point is, network theorems will help us to simplify the circuit. So a big circuit can be represented by using a simple equivalent small circuit. Okay, so when we navigate through all the network theorems and go through all the network theorems in our study, we will get to know the beauty of network theorems. Okay, generally it is told by the student community that network theorems are a little bit difficult to remember. Yes, if you want to remember anything in the circuit analysis, it is difficult. But when you try to understand, it is never a difficulty. Okay, so rather than remembering the network theorems, you please put your efforts in understanding the network theorems, because once you understand network theorems, the whole circuit analysis is in your hands. Okay, so we'll now move towards the various network theorems in the study. So first I would like to take simple theorem, superposition theorem. Okay, so first I would like to superposition theorem. So superposition theorem works on superposition principle. Simple. Now, what is principle of superposition? That is important. Principle of superposition and principle of linearity go hand in hand. Principle of superposition and principle of linearity go hand in hand. So, what is linearity? Now, suppose I have a system. Suppose I have a system. It has got some input. It has got some output. Okay. So suppose if input is x, output is y. Now x is equals to some k into y. That the output is directly depending upon the input. Output is directly depending upon input. If input changes, output changes proportionally. That is called linearity. Okay, proportionally. Here k is a constant. Now if k is equals to 2, okay, and x is equals to 3, then y is equals to 6. Now if k is equals to 2, x is equals to 4, then y is equal to kx. Output equal to k into x. Okay, so y is equals to 8. So output is proportionally changing with respect to input with some constant of the system. So this is linearity. Now suppose x is the input. Now if I will change x to 2x, then output will become 2. Okay, if I vary the weight of the input, weight in the sense the value of the input, then the value of the output will also vary proportionally. So this actually this is very crude way of understanding superposition. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll just see what is linearity. That is sufficient for me now. So now output y depending upon x proportionally is called linearity. Okay, now if input x, if input to the system x is doubled, output will also be doubled. If input is tripled, output will also get tripled. Okay, so whatever thing I am doing with this input, the same thing is happening with this output. Okay, so this is linearity, and in the linearity, superposition is implicitly present. Okay, so superposition theorem follows superposition principle. In the sense, superposition theorem follows linearity. Okay, so here itself I get one limitation of superposition theorem, that superposition theorem has to be applied only to the linear circuits. I cannot apply superposition theorem to non-linear circuits. Okay, now we should be looking into what is meant by superposition theorem, what the principle of superposition tells. Okay, so I will read out this statement as it is. First, I will read out the statement as it is. Okay. Then I will be taking one example directly rather than seeing general things and then moving to numericals. I'll be taking one example and then we will be looking into that circuit. Okay. So statement of superposition theorem goes like this. In any linear bilateral network having more than one independent sources, the response in any element, the response in any element is algebraic sum of all the responses due to each independent source, acting independently, keeping all other sources inactive. Okay. I will read out this once again. In any linear bilateral network having more than one independent sources, the response in any element is the algebraic sum of all the responses due to each independent source acting independently, keeping all other sources inactive. That is setting all other source values to 0. Okay. Uh, this is the statement of superposition theorem. So what first we should be looking into, what is response mean? Response is nothing but output. Input is always excitation. In a standard engineering term, input is called excitation, output is called response. Now, what is the response across this element? Now I have some circuit. Okay, I have some circuit. Now, what is the response across this AB? The response across this AB is, it may be current and it may be voltage. It may be a current through resistance R AB, or it may be a voltage across resistance RMA. These both are responses. Then what is the source? That is excitation. Excitation is nothing but the source. Whether the source is voltage or whether the source is current, that is input to the circuit. Sources are nothing but input to the circuits. Sources are nothing but input to the circuit. Then what is the output in the circuit? Output in the circuit is the current flowing through all the branches and the voltage drop across all the branches. That is the output. So my excitation is source value. Response is voltage and current across each branch. So now, if I'm interested to know what is the current in this branch, that is resistance RAB, then as per superposition theorem statement, what it says is the response in any element of the circuit is due to each independent source acting independently. It means that suppose I will deactivate this source. Suppose this is a current source and this is a voltage source. Now, if I want to know what is the current in RAB, okay, that is current I. The current I is due to the voltage source V as well as the current source I. Both the sources are having effect on the value of current in this resistor. How to get that? I am dissecting the circuit. Okay, to understand what is happening in one element, I will be looking into the circuit from each source point of view. Okay, so what I will take, I will consider this source. I will keep all other sources if present inactive. That is, I will deactivate this source. I will make the source value 0. So when I make source value 0, current source must be open circuit. If I make current to 0 to be 0 in any branch, that branch has to be open circuited. So current source must be kept open. Then find the value of current in this resistor. I will get some IV current due to the voltage source. IV. This is the first case. Second, I have one more source, that is current source. So in the second case, what I will do? I will keep the resistance source as it is. Now I will consider the current source in my circuit and I have to deactivate this voltage source. That is, I should make the voltage value of this source 0. To make voltage 0, I should short circuit that branch. So voltage sources are replaced by short circuit. Now find the current. Now find the current in II. Current due to current source. Okay. Now, when in the total circuit, when the circuit is with both the sources, now the current IAB is equals to the algebraic sum of all the currents due to all sources acting individually. So when voltage was acting on its own, only voltage source was acting in the circuit, whatever the current I have found out, that is IV plus. In the second case, I made current voltage source inactive, that is 0. Then I took the current in this RAB with only the current source. So that is II. So this is my total current. So what superposition theorem says is, in any circuit element, the response in that circuit element, the response I told, the response may be current, the response may be voltage. Okay, but generally we first find the current, then we will get the voltage automatically by simply using Ohm's law. So the response in any element, in any circuit which contains multiple sources, if there is no second source in the circuit, then the current in all the elements is due to only one source. Now, if there are multiple sources present in any circuit, then the current in any branch, in any element, is due to the currents supplied by all the sources. Now, if there are three sources in the circuit, the current in any element is due to the current due to source 1 plus source 2 plus source 3. How to get that? The value of current due to source 1. Then deactivate other two sources. If I want to find the value of current due to source 1 alone, then I should deactivate source 2 and source 3. Deactivate means what? I should make momentarily the value of those sources 0. So if I have to make the value of voltage source 0, I should short circuit it. If I want to make the value of current source 0, I should open circuit it. Okay, that is the only possibility. That is how we can make the source values 0. So the branch containing voltage source, if I short circuit, the voltage value becomes 0. And if the branch containing current source, if I make it open circuit, the current value becomes 0. So the other two sources are deactivated. If there are three, then find the current in the element which I am interested in. That can be done for any element. That can be done for this element also. That can be done for this element also. Okay. Then if I want to know what is the current due to second source in this element, then deactivate source 1 and source 3. If I want to know current due to source 3, deactivate source 1 and source 2. Then if I want to know the total current flowing in that element due to all the three sources, simply add those three currents, which I have taken with source 1, source 2 and source 3 separately, individually. Okay, and this is applied for only independent sources. Now suppose there is a dependent source. Suppose there is a dependent source in the circuit. For any dependent source in the circuit, it must be kept as it is, because dependent source doesn't have its own independent value. So the dependent source is not giving out the power, or they're not giving out the response due to its own quality, but it is depending on some other parameter. Therefore, in superposition theorem, whenever we are having the multiple source networks with independent and dependent source, if I want to solve that using superposition principle or superposition theorem, then I should be finding the response across each element due to individual sources considered separately, keeping all independent sources inactive, that is making their source value 0, and keeping all the dependent sources unaltered. They should be kept as it is. Okay, so when we look into the examples, you will get to know about those things. Okay, so this is about superposition theorem. The superposition theorem, what I am using the superposition principle. So why the name superposition? You know what is superposition. Okay, superposition means what? There is multiple effect on the same body or on the same point or across the same element. Now, if I consider this as my element of interest, then the response of, or the response at this element is the responses of all the sources superimposed on it. Okay, or superposed on it. That is called superposition. So there is the effect of source 1, effect of source 2, effect of source 3, effect of n number of sources present in the network. So this superposition theorem will help us to know the response across any element due to individual sources also. Due to individual sources also. Okay. In other theorems, we don't get this facility. In other theorems, we don't get this individual source facility. Superposition theorem will give us. But one limitation of superposition theorem is that it has to be applied to only linear circuits. And only I can get linear quantities. So with this superposition principle, I can apply this only to the voltage and currents, but not to the power. Okay, voltage and current, but not to the power, because power is a non-linear quantity. Okay, so see current, I say that the current across this RAB is due to source 1 and source 2. Okay, so if I want to know that, find the current due to source 1, find the current due to source 2, add it. But that is not the case with power. I cannot do that because power is equals to V into I, or I square R, or V square by R. In all the cases, it is quadratic. In all the cases, it is a multiple. It is a multiplication product. Product is always if I take only product of 2, it is a quadratic equation. Power is quadratic, order of 2. So it is I square is there, V square is there, V into I is there. So when there is a product of two quantities, that cannot become a linear function. Okay, but it can be a linear function. P is equals to K into I is linear function, because if K will remain constant forever. Okay, but here V may not remain constant, same, or it is same across all the elements. P is different. So power is a quadratic quantity. Hence, I cannot say that the power across RAB is the algebraic sum of powers due to this source and due to this source considered individually. Okay, so it may not be completely and directly true. So therefore, with superposition theorem, I can find the currents and voltages, but power can be found out only once I know the current and voltage. Okay, so we'll look into an example and we'll get a better insight on this superposition. Yeah. We'll take one example. First, I will take a very simple circuit, the same circuit what I had shown now. Yes. Okay. Now, the problem of the statement circuit is find current I, in 3 ohm using superposition theorem. Okay. So first we should be looking, whenever I get a problem with superposition theorem, first I should look into how many sources are there in the circuit. So in a given circuit, there are two sources. One is voltage source, other is current source. So you can take a note. To make voltage source voltage source inactive or zero, it is replaced by short circuit. It is replaced by short circuit. Okay, because voltage across short circuit is zero. Simple. That is the principle. Second, to make current source inactive, that is zero. Okay. It is replaced by open circuit. So for voltage source, it is short circuit. For current source, it is open circuit. You should remember these 2 points. Now, case 1. Okay. Case 1, considering 10 volt source. Consider 10 volt source. So when I consider 10 volt source, all other sources in the circuit should be kept inactive. So consider 10 volt source. Okay. So here we deactivate 8 amp source. And we deactivate 8 amps source. Okay. So 8 amp source is a current source. It should be replaced by open circuit. Okay. So let me take the current due to 10 volt source to be I dash. Okay, because it should be other than I should be knowing what the value I have to add. So that is just I'm giving a temporary name to that. Okay. Now I have kept the current source 8 amperes open. 0. If I have to make current source 0, then to make current source 0, I should be keeping it an open circuit. Now, keeping this 8 amperes as open circuit, I have to find the current in 3 ohms. So when I keep 8 amps open circuit, this branch is open and 5 ohm is connected to a branch which is open. So there is no current flowing now in 5 ohm resistor. There is no current flowing now in 5 ohm resistor. Okay. So what is current I dash? Is 10 volts divided by 2 plus 3 ohms. The current in 5 ohm is 0. Why? Because it is an open circuit branch. It is an open branch. Okay. So there is no current flowing in 5 ohm and I need not to consider because I am looking into the circuit from the 10 volt source. I am not looking into the circuit from these open terminals. Now I have considered 10 volts means what? I am looking into the circuit from 10 volt source. Looking into the circuit from a particular direction makes very much sense because what appears series may appear parallel if I look in from the opposite side. Okay. So that will come to know in Thevenin's theorem. So I will tell them how to look into the circuit at from various points, from various sides. Okay. Now here, I dash is simply 10 by 5, that is 2 amperes. So I dash is 2 amperes. Okay. Now in the second case, case 2, consider 8 amp source. Consider 8 amp source. Okay. So here we deactivate 10 volt source. Here we deactivate 10 volt source. Okay. So now I should be making the 10 volt value 0. So whenever I have to make the value of voltage source to be 0, it should be replaced by short circuit. So the circuit will be like this. The short circuit. So let me take this as I double dash, just for my understanding. Current is I double dash. Now I cannot say the current in 2 ohms is 0 because current 2 ohm resistor is the part of the closed loop. But whereas 5 ohm resistor was the part of open loop. So no current flows in open loop. Therefore I don't consider current in 5 ohm. But the same thing I cannot do. That here the current in 2 ohms 0, I should not say that. I should not say that because it is forming a loop here. Definitely there will be current flowing in that. Now I have to find out what is the current in 3 ohms. Now you can apply KVL or you can apply current divider formula. You can do whatever you want. Simple is applying current divider formula. Why to go for KVL and all? Okay. So current I dash is, now what is the current here? It is 8 amperes. So the current, main current entering this node, the branch of 2 ohm and 3 ohm is 8 amperes. So I double dash is equals to, okay, 8 into main current is 8 into opposite resistance, that is 2 ohms divided by sum of both the resistance, 2 ohm plus 3 ohm. So this I double dash is equals to 8 into 2 divided by 5. So it is 3.2. Okay. 8 to the 16, 16 by 5 is 3.2. Okay. 3.2 amperes. Now what is the total current? The total current in 3 ohm. Therefore, I is equals to I dash plus I double dash. Simple. So this is equals to 2 amps. I dash is 2 amps plus 3.2 amps. This is 5.2 amps. Now, how to believe this is correct? Okay, somebody stated superposition theorem. I believed that guy. I applied to my circuit. Where is the verification? How to verify this? Yeah, how to verify this? Because statement wise, theoretically, I have seen it can be done. Statement says it can be done. One example we used, we have looked into and we did it. So what we did is right or wrong should be verified. But for every example, we should not do that. Just I want to verify to show you that superposition theorem is true. No, by default, when it is put into the curriculum, it is true, then only it is been put. Yes, that is one case. But we should not believe blindly anything, okay? Because we are all technocrats. We should be verifying it whether it is true or not, whether whatever the statement I have defined is applicable to circuit or not. So what I have to do, I should now want to verify superposition theorem by using basic network analysis techniques. Now either I will be using a loop analysis or mesh analysis, sorry, a node analysis or mesh analysis, and I will be checking what is the current in 3 ohm. If it is coming 5.2 amperes, then I will believe now that superposition theorem is correct. It is true. But if the circuit is very complex, I cannot do that. So I don't want to verify for every circuit. I want to make you people believe that superposition theorem holds good for any circuit, any linear circuit. So I want to verify. So simply write the loop equations. Okay, verification. So simply apply mesh analysis. Simply apply mesh analysis here. Now write the mesh equation. Let me take this as I1. Let me take this as I2. Now write the mesh equation for loop 1. I will write it directly. You please verify that later. Okay. So this is 5I1 minus 3I2 is equals to 10. Okay, this is equation 1. In second equation, I2 is equals to minus 8 amperes. I need not to write equation there because there is a current source in the perimeter of a loop or a perimeter of a mesh. The mesh current will be of that value only. This is not common between two meshes. This is into the perimeter. Independent branch is there, not in common branch. So I2 will be nothing but my current in of the source. And the source current is anti-clockwise, but my mesh current assumed is clockwise. Hence my I2 is minus 8 amperes. If I want to know what is I1, okay, you can put I2 is equal to minus 8 in equation 1. Okay, you substitute in equation 1. So it is 5I1 minus 3 into minus 8 is equals to 10. Okay, so 5I1 is equals to 10 minus 24. It's result 24. Okay, so I1 is equals to minus 14 divided by 5. So this is equals to minus 2.8 amps. I1 is equals to minus 2.8 amps. Okay. What is current in 3 ohm resistor? So I 3 ohm is equals to, or I is equals to, or I 3 ohm is equals to. Okay. So the value of I1 is minus 2.8, value of I2 is minus 8. Okay. So whichever is more, that is my current flowing, that direction of current will be flowing in 3 ohms. So I1 is larger than I2. I1 is minus 2.8, I2 is minus 8. So minus values, more minus values means far away from 0. So I 3 ohms is equals to I1 minus I2, which will come out to be minus 2.8 minus of minus 8. So this will come out to be 5.2 amperes. Now I got 5.2 amperes using superposition principle. I got 5.2 amperes using my normal fundamental mesh analysis. So this shows us that superposition principle can be very conveniently applied to any linear circuit. This is a linear circuit. I can apply it to any linear circuit, any linear bilateral circuit. Okay, any linear bilateral circuit. Okay. So bilateral circuit means what? Very simple, you understand fundamentally, power flow can be from both the sides. That is bilateral circuit. Okay. So current flow can be from both the sides. Okay. If you want to understand what a unilateral circuit means, take for example of a motor. If you take a motor, that is a unilateral circuit because current will flow from source to motor. Current will not flow from motor to source. But whereas in this circuit, current can flow from 10 volts, 2 hours into the circuit and also 8 amperes to into the circuit. So this is bilateral circuit. Okay, so superposition theorem should be applied to a bilateral circuit. Okay, the simple understanding of bilateral circuit. So this shows us that superposition principle is true for linear circuits. Now I can use this superposition principle to solve any circuit of my interest. Okay, so with this I will end today's session. You please go through once again the superposition principle, try to solve the examples on it. In the next class, if possible, I will take one more example with more number of sources present in the circuit, also one independent source, and I will be forwarding you some solved examples on superposition theorem. Okay, so we'll close today's session, and in next class we'll solve one example with a dependent source present in it. So we will be knowing all the aspects of the circuits. Okay, so thank you for joining the class.